Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Everyone who reads the Must Converse is the channel. Thanks for coming back by. New World's November, a sci-fi reading event, is on, and so is No Shave November. Am I right? um, I love it because that's where this whole thing started. Was a No Shave November, and now, you know, we'll see where it gets to. I haven't touched it. So I retouched a collection of short stories, Exhalation by Ted Chiang, that I had read just earlier in the year, maybe 3 months ago now, and I read it with a great group. It was a wonderful group of readers. It was Evie, as she was only Evie, Angela at Literary Science Alliance, and Yasmin at To the Lithouse. This was really, really cool as far as seeing what Ted Chiang was all about, but in it I was kind of underwhelmed, and I didn't really kind of jive with the stories. The discussion was great, and really getting into it the way that we did was great, but I never made any content on it. So I figured I'd retouch them and do it, because through talking over the last few months and seeing kind of where I was at, I I think that really, when it comes down to it, I was reading a lot of Borges at that time, and Borges will do what Ted Chiang kind of does, which is thought experiments. A sci-fi story narrative, but that is actually framing, a thought experiment. And Borges is so much more expansive and leaves you out there just to continue to postulate more and more, and is very free and open. And Ted Chiang's stories struck me as very constrictive, um, very locked into a certain track of way of thinking, and I didn't really jive with them. But there is some really, really good stuff in here, and it gets a lot of love. I mean, people love Ted Chiang and his short works, and rightfully so. He's a good writer, and it just depends on where people are at, of course. If somebody wants to read some sci-fi short stories, and they're not big readers or something, but they want some cool sci-fi, I'd say definitely read Exhalation by Ted Chiang. My favorite story in the whole collection is the first story. It's called The Merchant and the Alchemist's Gate. And this is a really, really cool kind of time travel story. So it works perfect for this New World's November theme of this week, which is time travel. And there is another reader, the Rambling Reviewer is the name of the channel. I had just subscribed the other day. I'll put it in the description box. He's a newer guy, but he's reading this for New World's November. So I wonder if there'll be some content on this short story coming out today. It's a very, very cool short story. How it plays out, how he plays with time in it. Definitely. It was well done, and you can still kind of postulate more, and it sends you off thinking. That's the kind of thing that I love with, especially with sci-fi. Is it allowing you to keep thinking? Some of these stories kind of shut you down, and one of them, the life cycle of software objects, is one that I kind of felt confined in. It's a story about an AI in software programs, not in any kind of physical form or robotic form, but AI just in software programs, and they're basically like a clean slate that has to be taught everything about language, about living, or whatever, in a digital environment, a digital world. And it explores cool territory and goes pretty far. It's a pretty long the longer of the short stories. It's over 100 pages in here. There's some very, very short pieces, and then the life cycle of software objects is one of the longest, and it explores a lot of cool territory. But at the end of it, and it's a perfect example of kind of how I felt about it, about the series as a whole, is that you can't really accept the end of the story if you don't accept all his little things along the way. And the things along the way that he's using to build the narrative are polarizing, or are something that makes a claim that you're just like, wait a second. But that wait a second, he's not waiting a second. He's keeping on going down a track, and when he gets there, how satisfying it is depends on you, or kind of buying into his whole track. And some of the things on the track are problematic. That's for sure. He did do some cool stuff that I found just to be limiting in the way that it is. Omphalos is a short story that is a very cool idea, but the way that he explores it is something that, I just found very limiting. It is the story that has a New Earth creationist uh, standpoint, like the Earth being about 5,000 to 7,000 years old, and having been created, by God or whatever. And they have physical scientific evidence in the geologic record, in fossils, in trees, these kind of things, of when their start was and all this kind of thing. And then there's like a crisis of faith exploration in with that, because they in this universe find out that there's another star system that is actually like the center of the universe, that the whole universe is moving around a point. And then these young earth creationists, in reality, they believe that they were the only ones, or the center at least. And it turns out that it's not, the earth is not the center. And then there's played in it like a crisis of faith in this kind of thing. And I just think that, it could have been explored more. It could have been explored with more depth. And that happens in a lot of these stories, is that the depth really isn't there. And to throw the reader into, well, mentally exploring something with ideas because you love it, that's fine. I mean, that's exactly what it's all about. But to require that the reader look at it in a certain type of way, and then still making speculations and inferences that go down a track that actually restrict the reader from exploration in a lot of ways. So there's little pieces in here that are even like a page and a half, 2 pages, something like that were published in other places. So I think that I just find Ted Chiang a very kind of, he's very single-minded in his writing, and he's not writing for the reader. He's like writing for himself. And once he gets out his idea and goes through to it, then maybe is just done, and doesn't polish as much as you would want, or I would want. That's for sure. So it's just something that struck me over and over in it, that maybe it just needed more. I just wanted more of it, of all the stuff. Like I said, he's a good writer and that kind of thing. The last story was really cool, especially concept-wise. It's a quantum mechanical communication system where you can communicate with, in the multi-universe theory, where there's, almost an infinite number of you that has made different choices and whatever, and every choice that people make branch off into new realities. And this kind of thing was taken very, very far. But there's a communication device that allows for you to contact other yous and to have a relationship. So that was really, really cool. But then at the end, I mean, seriously, how it kind of wraps up, I'm just like, I see what he's trying to do here. And that was one of the best, maybe my second favorite in the whole book, was the last one as well. It's just, it's good, but it doesn't, I just want more. And maybe that's just a symptom of the short story, right? Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. That's the last one. So definitely worth a read. Definitely, if you want some sci-fi and you just want to do short stories to do it, go for it. Especially the first, The Merchant and the Alchemist's Gate. So good. Exhalation, the title story, is so good as well. Um, Again, you just got to buy into it to really get all the way where he wants to take the story. And then you have to back away and wonder whether or not he meant this kind of thing or that kind of thing, about all the details, because he just is running with one idea. But it's good, and a quick read. So have at it if you're down for it. If not, there's a lot of suggestions out there for New Worlds November. Let's get reading some sci-fi. See you later, y'all.